Hey, what's up guys? This is Alexander Gauss. So I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on taking apart a pneumatic spear gun. I was super surprised to see that on the internet, you can find DIY videos for almost anything. So I was really surprised to see that I never found a video when I was looking for one on this. So I'm not an expert. A little bit of trial and error, and I'm just going to show you some of the basics so at least you can know how to do it and how the pieces come together and everything like that, right? So I'm going to use some gloves here just because these guns are filled with oil, right? When you're replacing O-rings or taking it apart and re-putting it back together, this fork oil, this is good stuff to use right here. Keep all your seals and everything going good and lubricated. What else can I tell you? Like I said, it's trial and error, right? So I'm no expert. I just looking at things, try to figure this stuff out. And so, yeah. So here's your gun, right? First thing you want is to make sure that your knob right here is in the high pressure position, right? So you want it to be able to move back and forth like this. You don't want that thing locked in there. I guess it's not the end of the world if it is, but just know that's how you want to have it. So there's a few different ways. I think the easiest thing to do first is you take out this knob right here, the trigger lock. So you're going to take that thing out right there, and it comes out. This gun, when I first did it, I got this bought off Craigslist, a couple of them actually for real cheap. So I just started trying to figure out what I could do. And it comes right out, right? You saw me just tap that a few times. Let me get up here so you can see a little bit better. And that little knob just, there you go, pulls right out, right? So there you go. Obviously try to keep all your stuff together so you're not losing it. So there's that. Got my pin and my trigger now. Those have been taken apart. Here on the side. The next thing you can do is you're going to take off this nub right here, the nose right here, right? And so it might be, again, pretty stuck that first time that you do it, but I've obviously taken it apart now several, well, maybe not. It's quite, take it back. So just get a little spin there. Once you get it going, you can take that tip right off, right? So in here, there's a bumper as well that you can take out, and if you need to replace or something, but I don't really think you need to. It's, mine was intact. This gun's probably like 20, 30 years old or something, and it seemed pretty good still. So at this point, you can either loosen the rear or you can actually just pull this tip right off. So you just like that, boom, and that comes right out, right? And there you see you have your one seal O-ring right here. Your gun's like that. I'm probably not doing the best practices. You probably want to do it somewhere where you're ensuring there's no dust, but this is what I got here in Hawaii, and this is what I'm dealing with, so we're just going to roll with it. Yeah, so you got that. I already loosened up this back. If you probably know that this is where you put, ooh, I missed the whole thing right in the beginning. So before you do any of that, you actually want to get in here. This already had all the pressure let out of it, but you want to get in there and hit that. There's a little ball valve right in the bottom of that. So you get that, you just push it in and it'll go, and you'll just let all the air out, right? So that'd be your first step. I'll take it back before you do any of this. You could take out the trigger, wouldn't be the end, but you definitely want to do it before you take off the end of the gun like I just did. So, all right, don't hold me responsible for any damage. Now what you need to do is on this back piece right here, this needs to come out, right? So, what I have is this, what are these planar chisels or whatever they're called for, taking out wood. And this isn't the best tool. In fact, I don't recommend it. I've seen some tools where people get like, you go to Home Depot. Most of the things I've seen made to undo this piece are DIY. I think Mars might have had some kind of kit, but it's like 80 bucks or 100 bucks or something. And when you could just go down and get, a flat. What I would recommend is the problem with this is that it has a sharp point lip on it, right? So when you're going in there, you can jam it up and kind of damage the metal, especially if it's old and it's been there a long time. What you want is something you get in there, and ideally, the ones I've seen are they're cylindrical. They fit right in that area. They have the little notch cut out. They have the little notch cut out, so they'll go right into these little into these grooves right here, and then usually what I've seen is with a hole in them where you can just spin them out, right? And so, fortunately here I've already had mine loosened up. This is actually the wrong one. Hold on, let me grab the right side here. So here's another one. This is the right size one right here. So just get in there. Mine's already real loose. Yeah, that first time it was real snug. So I had to really work it out of there. But once you get it, you know. And like I said, you know, I've been meaning to make a tool to do this, but until I put the gun back together properly, when I'm actually going to go out and fish with it, I'm not going to worry about that yet. Right now, I'm waiting on my new set of O-rings coming in right now. I found a place in Italy that sells them, so that's my plan. Is to I haven't actually got them yet, so hopefully they come in. I guess we'll find out pretty quick here. So this is already loosening up. So I just pushed. What I did is I just pushed this in because as I was unscrewing this rear, what was happening is this nose piece was riding out. So maybe that's another good reason to do it before you do the front of the gun. Whatever. I'm not a professional, you know. I'm just showing you, you know, how this really works, so you can figure it out. So within there, you could actually unscrew that, and there's the ball valve inside. So I don't know if that's part of the kit. I guess I'll see when it gets here. But yeah. And so now you can just work this out. And there you go. So if I hadn't, yeah, I don't know what I was going to say there, but so that comes out now too. So there it is. Here's your cylinder, right? I mean, that's all it is. Just a clean cylinder where your air can get compressed. You have your O-ring here on the end as well. You have one here on the system here. You've got a hole right there, and that's where your adjustment for pressure, this little thing right there, it actually fits right in there. And so you'll see there's an O-ring. Put that down on the towel right there. So there's an O-ring on that as well. So you can replace that. This actually comes out. You can run it through, pull this whole thing out, work this and everything. But I mean, there's basically your gun now, right? So you've got your O-ring right here on the handle. You've got another one here. You've got another one here. I know there are some above the trigger where the trigger pin goes in. I don't really know if you can change that or what. I haven't gotten to that yet. I'm sure you can. I think that's pretty much it. There's that O-ring here on the release valve. Yeah, and you know what you can also do now. So this can get stuck as well. So this is your trigger. Your trigger net mechanism, and you can just pull that out. This one came out a lot easier than the one, but you know, if you need to, you just get something on there, you give it a nice little pound, and it comes right out. So now we're there, and inside is the. Let me just grab a shaft real quick. So inside is the actual. So when you're pushing this out, always use the end where the spear would kind of screw onto. If you use this, the end that actually goes in the shaft, when you're pushing the can't think of the name of the piece right now, but this piece, right? So if when you're pushing it back in, if you do it with the end that actually goes and inserts into there, it can get stuck and it's hard to pull it back out. So you're gonna just use the end where the spear goes on. And there's another O-ring on here as well. And so there it is. And now it's a clean. You know, you clean it out. If you got this one, actually had a ton of gunk in it when I got it, so I cleaned it all. And probably you want to use like a microfiber rag. I just did it here with a clean shop. It was clean when I started, so clean shop towel. I got, you know, a pipe cleaner here for getting in some of the smaller areas. I got my my compressor with my air, so I can shoot air into it and that kind of thing. And so there's your basic gun, right? You got your thing. You got your cylinder. Now, I know there's all these guys that are probably going to rip me for not having all the technical names, but you know what? Do what you can do, and here we're just figuring it out. And like I said, I just took it apart on my own and figured this out, and I was surprised it wasn't a video. So let me just show you real quick how to put it back in. And one of the things you got to do is you have to insert your trigger mechanism and your come on guys, help me out. What's the thing called? I'm sorry. Whatever the piston, right, or whatever it is that shoots, and that locks in. When you push it up into the cylinder, what happens is that clicks over there, right? And so when you're hitting the trigger, what you're doing is you're letting that go, and this thing shoots out through the pipe with all the pressure behind it. So, so what you're going to want to do is when you're putting this back together, you know, say you take this off, there's actually another inside here. There's another, not an O-ring, but it is another rubber piece that mine actually got old. So I don't know what I'm going to do. You know, it's that right there. I don't know if you can see that, but that's the piece that goes in there. And I don't really know if that, you know, like I said, I'm getting my kit coming in the mail right now. I have a feeling that's not, from what I could tell from the images, that's not part of the replacement, which is kind of a bummer. Because I have another gun. I actually got 3 of these all together, super cheap. I got them for 30 bucks. And so, you know, I've been fiddling with them and trying to figure it out so I can have them. If I can get, you know, one of them working properly, I'll be stoked for 30 bucks. And if I get them all 3, I got another Serrano 1100. That's a big gun, right? So that's big fish. So I'll be excited about this. This one might be decent. I do mostly 3-prong. You know, a lot of Polani, a lot of Mempache stuff, you know, reef fish like that. So for me, it's fine. I'm not too worried about it. Another O-ring right here on this cylinder. When this goes in like that, you'll see where it'll actually match up, be able to load in over a certain spot. So anyway, going back to this, get your trigger mechanism back in there. Get that spring lined up with the hole. Get that pin back in place. Yeah, just nice. Now that's nice and easy, you know. And then, you know, that I remember when, or at least maybe it was one of the other guns, but that thing was really stuck, and so I had to pound it out pretty good. But obviously, you don't want to like dent your metal or use anything too pointy because that'll be a problem. So now here with the piston thing, majiggy, I'm just gonna insert that back in the tip here. I'm gonna grab my shaft. Now make sure it gets in there and it locks. So it goes. So now we're locked in. And what that allows is so that your this isn't moving, and when you're putting stuff back in the gun, if you don't have, you need to have all that in place. So it just, and when you're putting the trigger back in as well. So you know, you can make sure you line this up how you like. So your logo, if you have one of the guns that doesn't have any logos on it, but you know, if you're into that kind of thing, you can just slide this back in there. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to go ahead and put the handle back on first. So you have to line up that trigger button. You have to remember when you're hitting this trigger, you know, there's a little, within that hole, there's a little pin that sticks up, and that's what pushes this. So you need to have those lined up when you're doing this. And you also need to line this up for where this little valve is going to sit. So you're just going to line that up. And there's actually little indentations right there that help you line it up and everything. So it's not like you got to do it all by yourself. So you can do like that, and then get this. You're screwing this. You're actually screwing this rear valve thing actually screws into the back of this pipe, right? So I'm just going to put that in there so it'll hold it in place. Yeah, I really got to make one of those tubes for doing this and doing it properly, because actually one of these rear, I told you I had 3 guns, and one of them I damaged, and I had to order another one. And you know, you can get them for, fortunately, you can get them for like 15 bucks, so they're not a big deal. But you know, the whole point of this was to not spend money. You know, I get very excited about getting stuff for very cheap. That's just me. I'm a thrifty guy, and we all have things that make us happy. That's one of them. When I get stuff for super cheap and I can fix it, then you know, we have a lot of fun with it. So I'm just going to screw this in here. Don't mind me. That's in tight. You might need to screw it in there a little bit tighter just to make sure your seals are everything on there. So now, you know, you could oil this up and everything. I'm just showing you how to put everything back together. There, I got like my logo. Maybe I want it there on the side so it's legible. And it just pops in there like that. I know that on the Serrano, there's actually a aiming tip here. I guess this one has a little bit, but not much, yeah. So once you put this in here like this, sit that back in together, you know, this is what actually holds the whole gun together. So then you screw that back on. And the last thing I'm going to do is just put the trigger back on, right? So all right, so that's on. Put my trigger back in, just slide it back in there, and pop the pin back in. Oops, make sure I put it the right way. Just slide it back in there, line it up with the hole. It's kind of surprising how easy these pins actually come in and out. Trigger's working, you know, and now you could tighten this down so that your seal is nice and tight. I don't think you really need to over tighten it. I mean, you know, I'm sure I'll get comments of people correcting me, and I would love more advice. Like I said, I figured all this out primarily on my own, so if you guys have tips, you know, and it's hard. I don't even know exactly all the all the O-rings and the, you know, that comes in that kit, and it was really hard to find like resources. I'll put the link to the source in Europe where I found, I think it was Italy. I read a couple on different, you know, scuba sites and things like that. They were talking about this one. I actually found on my own, because some of the other ones, someone recommended another one in Italy. Kind of old school though, and he didn't have the parts that I needed. And apparently, like looking on his website, he didn't have them. Whereas this other site, that again I'll put the link down in the bottom, it had everything. And so, you know, part of the thing was like figuring out what gun you have, and that's hard too. I knew they're mirrors. I didn't know. And this one's easy. It's a Californian, but like I said, I had one of the other ones that didn't even have a gun. And then you're looking at different years, and they call it a Sten, and they have all these different names. So Californian and a Sten, and the other gun I have is also a Sten as well. And so just trying to figure out, what my understanding right now is that all the O-rings are the same for those older guns. And so I'm hopeful. I guess I'll do an update when that all comes in. And yeah, so you know, when you're doing this, you got your pump, you know, I think what you can do, you know, what I will lube it all up before I put it all back together. And then I know you can put some of this fork oil like into the back and try to push it in using your pump. But I believe what you can also do is say, just get like a cup or, you know, some type of tube and just suck some of that in there. I saw some of the other guys taking apart the pump and actually dropping the fluid down in there. But this old one, I'm pretty sure if I take that apart, I'm going to break it. So my plan is just to try to suck it up there and then shoot it back into the, you know, screw it in and fill the gun back up with that. Yeah, and then you do your pumps, right? And there's some gauges on. Some gauges telling you how much you should pump it up and that kind of thing. And I don't know, I'll do maybe I'll do another one of these when I get my O-rings, and I'll do a better one. I'm not really sure, and see the issues I have and have questions for you guys. But that's it for now. As far as I can tell, that was the first video of how to take apart a pneumatic gun and put it back together. So hopefully that helps you. All right.